wanted to do something on a very complex topic, but then I'm reading the room. So I'm going to do something I did last time. Okay? Yes. All those of a similar opinion say aye. Aye, here. Are we? Okay, cool. Okay. Kama mapenzi ni kikohozi, mimi ni nani nikakificha? Kama mapenzi ni jasho, mimi ni nani nisilipanguze? Which is to say, if love is sputum in my throat, who am I not to cough it out? And if love is the sweat dripping from my brow, who am I not to wipe it off? Akikuuliza mimi ni nani, mwambie. Akikuuliza mimi ni nani, mwambie. Which is to say, when he asks you who I was, tell him. Tell him I was the jelly in your knees each time our skins touched. Tell him I was the husky in your voice each time I whispered in your ear when he asks you who I was. Tell him I was the warmth of summer, the chill of winter, the anticipation of spring. When he asks you what I was to you, tell him I was the glorious crescendo of a song we sang in the back alleys of ecstasy. Tell him I was the bated breath, the gritted teeth, the sweat, the panting when he asks you who I was to you. Romeo leaving his mouth in the piece of a kiss on Juliet's lips. Tell him I was the last drop of dew on the petals of a blooming flower when he asks you who I was. Tell him I was the length of a kiss, the charm of a poet. When he asks you who I was to you, tell him. Yeah? Tell him this because he's not asking to know the truth. He is asking for assurance. When he asks you who I was to you, tell him I was a confusion with someone. Tell him I was an acquaintance. Tell him this because, again, he's not asking to know the. He's asking for. The next time he asks you who I was to you, smile. Tell him that you love him. Then proceed to look at the moon with a tinge of nostalgia, because as the moon is to the sun, yeah, so is he my very, very pale reflection.